Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The procedures of Hajj in the Hanbali school, part 1. This is part 1 of 3. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasul Kareem. ربنا تقبل منا زدنا علما وحكمة وهدى وصلى الله أن يوفقنا لما يحب ويرضى ينفعنا ما علمنا بما ينفعنا اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا اللهم آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم ارحم شيوخنا أما بعد. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made all the things in the past, and it's by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everything happens. And may Allah's blessing be upon His final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and His peace. That's the example that we follow, the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's a good example to follow, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him and give him all the goodness. And today we're talking about the Sifat al-Hajj, the procedures of Hajj. And this is part 1 of 3, that the person, they go and they do the Hajj. The steps that they have to go through in doing the Hajj, basically, that's what it's about. And this is explained by Ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi, and who is explaining the rulings based on the school of the Hanbali school. Ahmad Ibn Hanbal is Imam al-Sunnah, who bases the things on the hadiths, on the narrations, on the different things to do. Okay, inshallah, so let's read number 1. Faisal, you read number 1.
صفة الحج العمدة لابن قدامة رحمه الله ونفعنا به. وإذا كان يوم التروية, when it is the day of Tarwiyah, that is the day of rest, the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah.
Yes, bear in mind that in the Hajj you have to be there on specific days. It's not like the Umrah where you can go anytime to do the Umrah. The Hajj you have to be there, and especially on the day of Arafat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you miss the day of Arafat, then the Hajj doesn't count. So you start on the day before the day of Arafat, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. And they call the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the date, 8th of Dhul Hijjah, Yom Tarwiyah. And literally means, it means a day of resting. That's literally the meaning. And what people they do is they start out in Mecca. That's normally speaking where that they are in Mecca. But also people, they go to Mina, where the tents are.
Same route where it's Tarawih.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, the Tarawih you have in Ramadan where you pray the night prayer, and the word comes from breaks or relaxation, because after every 4 rakats you have a break, so that's why they call it Tarawih. So it's the same root word for it.
Do you pray when you go on the 8th day, or is there any rituals, or no rituals?
Well, officially it starts on the 9th day in the morning, the official Hajj, but you go there before the day before in Mina to get settled in Mina in the 8th. That's usually what happens. So you can do that. You can go directly from Mecca too, but you got to stay in Mina in the days afterwards.
Tarwiyah is not required.
No, it's not. No, it's not required. That's what the Sheikh says. No. Okay, to read number 2.
فمن كان حلا أحرم من مكة وخرج إلى عرفات.
Yes.
Whoever is outside of the state of Ihram, he should put on his Ihram from Mecca and go out to Arafat.
Yes. So what happens is people, what they do is they usually do the Tamattu Hajj. They do the Umrah first, and then when they finish the Umrah, they take off their Ihram, the clothing that they have, so they're like on the regular clothes. So what happens is to start out the Hajj part, and what you do is people there in Mecca, they put on their Ihram, their clothing, wherever they are in Mecca. They don't have to go outside to the boundary points. The other people coming in from outside, that's starting the Hajj, then they have to put on their Ihram outside. But usually they come in several days before, or a lot before, to do the Umrah first. And then they put on the Ihram there, and then they do the Umrah. And when they finish the Umrah, then they start the Hajj from there, from Mecca. That's what the majority of people do, almost all the people. But technically, a person, they can just go there and do the Hajj like on that same day. So then they would have to put it on the Ihram. So that's why the Sheikh, he said that the people that are in Mecca, that's usually where everybody is. Then they put on their Ihram where they are in Mecca. And usually they go to Arafat. They go to Mina first. Then they head towards Arafat. Towards Arafat they go. Okay, to number 3.
فإذا زالت الشمس يوم عرفة صلى الظهر الظهر والعصر
Mhm.
ويجمع بينهما بأذان وإقامتين.
Yes. So the Arafat, you go there in the morning time, and you stay there until the sun. The Zawal al-Shams means when the sun is in the middle of the sky in the Dhuhr time. So at that time, after the sun gets past the time of Dhuhr, then you pray Dhuhr and Asr combined. Dhuhr and Asr combined with one Adhan and two Iqamas. That's what the Sheikh said over here. And that's the procedure that Prophet Muhammad did. And everybody does that. Even in the Hanafi school, they do that also. In the Hanafi school, usually they don't combine the salats together, but in the Hajj, they combine the salats together. So it's the same procedure.
The khutbah before the prayers or after?
The khutbah, which khutbah? The khutbah Arafat? I think it's after the prayers. Pray first, because usually do the prayers first. And I'm not sure. I'm going to check see when they do it, inshallah. See how Prophet Muhammad did the khutbah Yawm al-Arafat. Because Prophet Muhammad, bear in mind, he only did the Hajj one time, the Hajj al-Wada, after his prophethood. So at that time it was on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm al-Arafat, he gave the khutbah. Get to see, if he did it before or after. I'm not sure. I have to check, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. So that's officially, you start at Arafat on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. It's very important to go there on the 9th. And it's required to be there until nighttime. And you have to make sure that you're there in Arafat and not miss it. If you miss that, then the Hajj doesn't count. If you miss being at Arafat. So that's where you start out on the 9th. You go there and then you pray Dhuhr and Asr combined after the sun declines in the middle of the sky. Okay, let's go to number 4.
ثم يروح إلى الموقف. عرفات كلها موقف.
Yes.
إلا بطن عرنة. ويستحب أن يقف في موقف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو قريبا منه على الجبل.
Yes.
قريبا من الصخرات.
Yes. So what happens is Arafat is it's a huge area, huge place. And they have a mountain there also in Arafat. And then they use all these places that he says that they stand there in Arafat. And if you see the videos, you see like so many people standing there and going around there. And he says, the Sheikh, he said to stand in any place there in Arafat, all the place of Arafat is a standing, except for Batn al-Urna. Batn al-Urna, that's not a place to stand over there. And then Prophet Muhammad he used to stand near the rocks, and so it's good to follow the example of Prophet Muhammad. So basically, those are the things that he mentioned in that point. Would you read number 5?
ويجعل حبل المشاة بين يديه ويستقبل القبلة ويكون راكبا ويكثر من قول لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير.
Okay, to read the other 2.
ويجتهد في الدعاء والرغبة إلى الله عز وجل.
Okay, so this here, the Sheikh, he said that what Prophet Muhammad what he did when he was in Arafat, first he would stand there, and then what he would do is he would take the ropes of his animal, the riding animal, and put it in front of him and ride and mount the animal and face towards the Qibla and say the dhikr, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk.
What was the rope again?
The rope on the rein that you have on the animal.
Okay.
So you put that in front of you and face towards the Qibla while mounting on the animal. That's what Prophet Muhammad did. So that's what the Sheikh mentioned, that the same procedure from Prophet Muhammad. And then what you do is you say the dhikr, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Then it says, Biyadi al-khair wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. That's a standard one. That's one that you mentioned a lot of greatness, things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then what you do, the next point is the most important thing, make a lot of efforts for du'as. Because what happens is that's the place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the du'as the most out of any place. Because what happens is you have the day of Arafat, and the day of Arafat, that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the du'as the greater extent. And then you're in the place of Arafat also. and the place of Arafat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the du'as at that place too. So Allah preferred. Allah is what's the word? Very partial. So He makes some occasions of du'as more. He responds more on some occasions than other occasions. Just like if you're in the sajda, that's when you're closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's the best position to make the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So similar to that, when you're there in Arafat, on the day of Arafat, that's the best time to make the dua out of any time and place. And
Arafat doesn't have any structure there. I mean, when the Prophet was there was nothing there. Right? It was just an empty place. So how did they stay there from morning all the way until sunset in the heat, under the sun, and there's no shade, there's no sprinklers, there's nothing to shade them?
Yes. Well, that's how they did it until now. So subhanallah, that's how they did it.
Whole hot day, and it's 120, 130, 140 degrees.
Yes.
Bright sun under the sun.
Yes. Back then, the people, they were stronger than the people now. They could take a lot of pain, a lot of things. That's how they lived their whole life. That was their livelihood there in Mecca and Medina. And people used to live over there. They didn't have ACs back then. They didn't have air conditioning. They didn't even have the electric fans back then. And that's how their lifestyle was. That's how they did the things, over there.
The sun is so hot.
Yes, inshallah. The people, they're used to it. They were used to it back then. Nowadays, people are much more pampered. They have ACs and the sprinklers and things like that. So it's much easier nowadays. Subhanallah. All right. So at the Arafat, you make a lot of du'as. That's the best time and best place to make the du'as, and put your hope in Allah subhanahu wa taala. Ragbatan ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Azawja, the glorious and the high. Okay, so read number 6, then you stay there until? Yes, until the sun sets. And that's one of the requirements the Shaykh mentioned in the other dars, that you have the wajibat of the Hajj, that you have to stay there until the sun sets in Arafat. It's not allowed to leave before the sun sets. So you got to stay there until the sun sets in Arafat. Okay, so read number 7.
ثم يدفع مع الإمام إلى مزدلفة على طريق النازلين وعليه السكينة والوقار ويكون ملبيا ذاكرا لله عز وجل.
Yes. Okay, so the next step after a person, they've stayed there until Maghrib in Arafat, they got to head over to Muzdalifah. And they go on the path that's called Mazamin, the path that's there, towards Muzdalifah. From Arafat to Muzdalifah, they go on that path. And the person, they stay calm and tranquil. That's what the Shaykh said, in reverence. Sakina wal waqar. The person, they keep the calmness. And remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Azawajal, on that. So during this time, this is the Hajj. A person, they respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He called people to the Hajj, and the people, they responded to Him, and that's what it means when they say labbaik. Labbaik means we respond to you, and that's the appropriate thing to do over there when a person, the Maghrib time comes in Arafat, then they head towards Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is like the midway point, is like a point between Mina and Arafat when they go towards Mina. Okay, inshallah, let's read number 8. Oh, number 7, sorry.
So nowadays, people are on buses mostly, right? When they come from Arafat. Some people are walking, I guess, right? Most people just sit on the bus, and wherever the bus takes them, they just go, right?
Yes, I mean, yeah, I guess they have roads there nowadays. So some people they do that, take the buses, but the buses go very slow.
Yes.
And the people that have done a lot of Hajjs, they say that it's much better to do a walking Hajj, than taking the vehicles, because there's a lot of traffic, and and it's really like a big traffic jam. That's what they say. All right, let's go to number 7.
فإذا وصل إلى مزدلفة صلى بها المغرب والعشاء قبل حط الرحال يجمع بينهما.
Yes. So you pray Maghrib and Isha combined once you reach Muzdalifah. Just like you pray Dhuhr and Asr combined, pray Maghrib and Isha combined, and you settle down in Muzdalifah. You don't go all the way to Mina yet, settle down there, and then you got to spend the night over there in Muzdalifah, at least to the middle of the night. That's what the Sheikh said. So that's the next step. Okay, yeah, that's the next point, number 8.
ثم يبيت بها ثم يصلي الفجر بغلس.
Yes. So you stay there and you sleep. You don't have a tent or anything, just sleep on the ground and get settled down there. And then after praying Maghrib and Isha, you go and rest over there and sleep. And then at Fajr time, then you pray Fajr over there in Muzdalifah while you're there. And so that's the thing at Muzdalifah. You stay on the ground. You sleep on the ground over there. You don't have the tents like in Mina. So that's what you do in Muzdalifah. Now what happens is the people that are weak and that have needs, that have an excuse, they can leave after the middle of the night. They don't have to stay all the way until Fajr. They can leave and go to Mina in the middle of the night. That's what they're allowed to do. The weak people and the people that are older and tired and have an excuse. And also Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, like the shepherds and people that are doing security and things like that, the people that have a need to do so, then they can leave in the middle of the night. They don't have to stay all the way until Fajr in Muzdalifah. All right? Okay, inshallah. Let's go to number 9.
If people are wearing ihram, can they take shower?
Yes, they can take the shower. There's nothing wrong with that. Just they can't put scent on their ihram.
Yeah.
They can change their ihram out to another ihram. That's perfectly fine, inshallah.
ويأتي المشعر الحرام
Mm-hmm.
فيقف عنده ويدعو
Mm-hmm.
ويستحب أن يكون من دعائه اللهم وقفتنا فيه وأريتنا إياه فوقفنا لذكرك كما هديتنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا كما وعدتنا بقولك وقولك الحق.
Yes. Okay, so this is the dua that the Sheikh he mentioned. So there's usually a lot of other things that people they could say. They could say other supplications, but this is the one that's mentioned by Ibn Qudamah in the Hanbali school. So a person they can say that dua. So what they do is after the praying Fajr in Muzdalifah, then they head into a place called the Mash'ir al-Haram. Mash'ir al-Haram, which literally means the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the signals, or the places of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's a particular location. Then you go there and then you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Shaykh he mentioned one of the virtuous duas. Okay, so then number 10, it mentions the ayah that talks about that. You read that ayah.
فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام واذكروه كما هداكم وإن كنتم من قبله لمن الضالين ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم.
Yes, okay. This is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 198 to 199. It says, فَإِذَا أَفِضْتُم مِّنْ عَرَفَاتٍ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ عِنْدَ الْمَشْعِرِ الْحَرَامِ. When a person, they finished up in Arafat, then remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Mash'ir al-Haram, the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاذْكُرُوهُ كَمَا هَدَاكُمْ. Remember him like he guided you. وَإِن كُنتُم مِّن قَبْلَ مِنَ الضَّالِينَ. And before you were astray, you were misguided. So that's why Allah guided the person to do all the worship to Him and obey Him, do the Hajj. And before people, they were astray, they didn't know what to do. Then it says, ثُمَّ أَفِيضُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَفَاضَ النَّاسِ. Then go where the people they go. In other words, they go towards Mina after that. وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And ask Allah's forgiveness. Allah is forgiving and merciful. And the last part where a person they ask Allah for forgiveness, they say if a person they do the Hajj and the Hajj Mabrur, his Hajj that's accepted, the person they come out like a newborn baby. And the ulama they say that Allah forgives all the sins. And there's ikhtilaf in the ulama who refers to the minor sins, but in the ulama they say it includes the major sins as well, and also even sins between each other too. Many ulama they say that. So that's a nice thing about the Hajj. Okay, so let's go to number 11.
ويقف حتى يصفر جدا
Yes,
جدا.
yes. So at the Mash'ar al-Haram, then the person, they stand there until, this is like early in the morning, until the sun becomes yellow. The sun becomes yellowish. In other words, like after the sun rises, the sunrise, then, at that point in time.
فمشعر الحرام is مزدلفة.
Mhm. In the
Mash'ar
Mash'ar
al-Haram
al-Haram.
is
In the,
Muzdalifah.
in the Mash'ar al-Haram, that's what it says. Okay, and then before, it says the next point precedes before the sunrise. So this is talking about after Fajr, and then it's coming close to the sunrise, and it becomes yellowish. That's what the Sheikh is saying. Then you proceed on. Okay, that's what number 12 says, right? Number 12?
ثم يدفع قبل طلوع الشمس.
Yes. So before the sunrise, when the sun becomes yellow, stay there until the sun becomes yellow.
Wait for the sun to get
Yes.
barely, not the sun, just before sunrise.
Right, yes. And then you head towards Mina, that's where you end up. Okay, number 13.
فإذا بلغ محصر
Mhm.
أسرع قدر رمية بحجر حتى يأتي من.
Yes. So that's the first part. It ends at when you go to Mina, after being at Arafat. Then we go a little bit faster at Muhassara, that the Sheikh you mentioned, at that place, until you arrive at Mina. And then it will be on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, and there's a lot of things to do on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So this is the first part. And the most important thing is that you're at Arafat, to go at Arafat, not to miss that. If you miss being at Arafat, and even you have until Fajr, if a person they have an excuse to be at Arafat, even being there a few minutes or even a few seconds, then the Hajj is valid. But if you miss being at Arafat on the day of Arafat, then the Hajj is invalid. That's what they say. The good news is the Sheikh he mentioned in the Hanbali school. This is in another video. This is another chapter. He says that if a person they were ignorant and didn't know the count of the days, then it's excused for the person. Like a person didn't know when was the first of Dhul Hijjah and the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. And he was ignorant, he was unaware of the count of the days, and then he went on a wrong day, then the Hajj is still valid. That's what the Sheikh he said. That's what he says. But not if a person is in a group, that's what he says. If a person is in a group, then he's saying that the people they should inquire from each other, what is the date. That's what the Sheikh, that's what he mentions in one of the other chapters, in the Hanbali school. That's what the Sheikh he mentions. So so the thing is, a person they have to make sure they're in Arafat on the day of Arafat, and if they can't make it in the daytime, at least go there in the nighttime, from until the Fajr time. And if they miss that, then their Hajj is invalid, it's void, it doesn't count. And that's what Prophet Muhammad said, Al Hajjul Arafat. The Hajj is Arafat. So that's very important. All right, inshallah, so the Sheikh he mentioned these things. This is how Prophet Muhammad, for the most part, he did the Hajj, and he mentioned those points there and the du'as that he said there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Do you have any questions or comments, Imam Faisal? Yeah, you were there at Hajj before, right? A few times. So maybe you can give some pointers on some of these things that you do until you reach the Mina after being at Arafat.
Question, yeah. So, how do you busy yourself? Because the whole day you're there usually. So, what should people be doing in that?
Well, you make a lot of du'as, That's what they do the whole day. Do the dhikr, do the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you do that. No, I mean, if a person.
The Sheikh here, he mentioned getting close to where the Prophet stood.
Yes.
Mount Arafat.
Yes, towards the rocks. Yep.
I heard some other people say that you shouldn't go on a mountain or something. It's not part of the Hajj. So the Sheikh here is saying it's mustahab, right?
Yeah, the thing is, this was back in 700 years after the Hijrah. So maybe things have changed since then. So Allah knows best,
There's still a lot of people climb up the mountain.
Yes, So he says that you go close by the rocks, where the rocks are. I guess the rocks are where the mountains are.
Yeah.
Mount Arafat.
Yeah.
But what happened is Ibrahim and Ismail, they said, Rabbana arina manasikana. So our Lord, show us the manasik, the rituals. And then after he learned them, he said, Ariftu, means I understood them. And so that's where the name came from, Arafat. That was a place where Ibrahim, he had learned and he understood the rituals for the Hajj. That's where the name came from that.
The Christian people, they claim that the Jews, they say Abraham never left Palestine. They don't believe that he went to Mecca, but
Yes.
I don't know.
There's a lot of innovations and new things that are added on, so there's no validity on the things that they say.
In the Bible, believe it or not, it talks about Zamzam well.
Yes.
And it talks about the Becca Valley
Yes.
and Hagar.
Yes. The thing is, when you look at the Bible, some things are remaining, from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down in the Injil, and then other things, the people, they sold it for worldly gain. That's what happened in the Bible. So, inshallah.
The Bible does mention it, but I've heard Christian people deny it. They say Abraham never went to Arabia, but it says it right in the Bible, I believe. So they say how did he build the Kaaba, but it says Becca Valley, right, in the Bible.
Yeah. No, the thing is, when you say Christian people, you tell them that you go back to the original teachings of Isa alayhi salam, go away from all the new things that have been added on and changed in their faith. And the original teachings of Isa, Jesus, is the same as Ibrahim and all the other prophets and messengers. So that's what, that's the main thing that the Christian people, they got to do. If they really follow Isa alayhi salam, that's the case. Go back to his teachings, not the innovations and inventions and changes that the other people, they added on afterwards. And the other thing is, you talk to people, it's good to talk in a kind way. Udu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah, with the wisdom, or mau'izatul hasan, with the good talking. So it's not appropriate to argue and dispute with people. The people are not going to listen to you, but try in a good way to convince people to follow the truth, inshallah. No? All right. The other thing is Isa alayhi salam is going to come back in the future, and definitely he's going to go there to Mecca and do the things, follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the teachings. That's what's going to happen in the future. When Isa alayhi salam comes back. All right, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. So if I said anything that's from the ilm and the knowledge, then follow it, go by it. Anything from my own self, just disregard it and don't follow it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And may peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.